Hello and welcome back to the Project Hercules Diaries. I'm Bart, that's a nickname, and I finally got round to sticking a little Bart Simpson on the rear number plate of my bikes. So if you see a bike going down the road with Bart Simpson glued to the number plate, it might be me. But enough about me, let's talk about the project. So this is a battery update. I have made a pair of buzz bars, or rather the Shed Fairies. Mr. Bob has made a pair of buzz bars to my specifications. We had to mill a tiny bit out of the center section so they would fit across the battery terminals without any rock on them and without needing to put copper washers underneath. It's a more elegant solution than having copper washers under here and trying to lose them. So the batteries are connected in parallel, which means negative goes to negative, positive goes to positive. It's great news because in this configuration there is plenty of cranking speed on the bike. I did some testing the other day and I'll show you that now. Two batteries in parallel. So I'm very pleased about that. I think Fred's very pleased, aren't you, Fred? Yes, nod your head. Well, he would if he could. One thing that you do need to be careful of now is that if the bike is in gear and not in neutral and you hit the button on the starter motor, because everything is connected, the bike will lunge forward because we're not far off actually being able to power it under its own steam, which is really quite exciting. So the batteries I'm planning to put inside here in between the chains, and the original plan was to make a battery carrier that allows me to push them up from underneath. They do fit, you can get them in from underneath, but the challenge there is while you can get the batteries in from underneath, it doesn't help an awful lot because these cables here would still need to get terminated on the top of the battery, which would be quite hard to do with the tank in the way. So what I've decided to do is, after discussion with the Chief Shed Fairy last night, we both agreed that the best way to make the battery carrier is to remove the tank and have it fitted from above. Then we can terminate all the cables, including the big thick ones, and then fit the tank last, which isn't a particularly hard job to do because there's only 3 bolts holding the tank on. When the tank has got a fuel pump inside of it and a few wires and is actually connected and full of fuel, it'll be a bit more of a faff to remove the tank, but I think that is the way to go. It also means that, you remember the previous video we were talking about making an electrics box to go in here somewhere. Well, the amount of available space is getting less and less because those big thick wires will be in the way, so I may have to rethink that. So back on the bench, if I teleport to the bench now, I just want to point out one of the safety things that I'm doing at the moment. Now, these batteries at the moment are held together by the terminals and some black gaffer tape around the batteries, so all of the stress of the weight of the batteries doesn't just sit on the terminals. That is, of course, temporary. I wouldn't rely on gaffer tape to hold critical components together, so the battery box and carrier will hold the batteries together and bolt them to the bike. But if I'm offering this up to the bike, it's a bit like playing Operation. I don't know if you ever did that when you were a kid, when you had to remove the funny bone without touching the sides or the guy's nose would light up. Well, this is kind of the same thing. If I was to try and get this into situ to work out which way round it needed to face without touching any parts of the bike with these bits of metal, any of this is live effectively, it would be quite easy to inadvertently do that, and with the amount of potential energy here, pardon the pun, there would be a great big spark. It might even weld itself to the underside of the tank and catch fire, and I really don't want that to happen. So what I've got here is a precision made battery cover with an old gaffer tape an old inner tube and some gaffer tape, and the idea is that I'm going to tape that down and tape that down, and there's no danger then of anything accidentally touching a battery terminal just while I'm offering it up. Once that's been once I know exactly which way the battery will be orientated, because it could go, obviously it can go 4 ways. It can go that way up, it can go upside down, or I could turn it round, or I could turn it over again. So there's 4 possible ways to fit the battery into the bike. It does physically fit. I have tried it, so that's good. There's 4 ways to fit it in the bike, and once I've decided which way is going to be the easiest to run the cables and has got the most clearance between the battery terminals and the underside of the tank, or the back of the gearbox, or this post here, or the chains, there will be a way that naturally I think will be the best. And once I've done that, then I can shorten the cables here and put the right connectors on. So that's where we are at the moment. Tomorrow, rather short notice, but I've decided I've got the show fever now. I've been invited to the K-Ville Kustoms show in Northampton, so I'm going to collect the a van this afternoon and take the bike for an appearance there. So if you are going there tomorrow, I'll see you at the K-Ville Kustoms show, and if not, I'll put a little video of that on later on. It does mean I won't be doing too much to the bike today though, because last thing I want to do is pull it all to bits and then not have it in a fit state for the show. So that's exactly where we're at. As usual, thank you for watching, and more updates will follow.